We are going to do what's called a practice learning checkpoint. So your learning checkpoint is like a test that you'll have at the end of the unit. We're actually going to probably do it next week. And this is just a practice to get you used to it, to see what you should expect, and to give you an idea of how well you'll do on it. Take a moment, pause the video, and jot down your bell work and your objective. All right, are you ready? We're going to review practice questions for a learning checkpoint that you'll take next week. You should have those questions in front of you on the worksheet. It's questions 1 through 3. Using these sources, you're going to answer the questions 1 through 3 on your worksheet. Stop when you are done with question 3, so you're going to pause this video. When you're done with question 3, come back to the video and we'll move on. So go ahead and pause it now so you have these sources while you answer the first 3 questions. All right, so we're going to now go over those first 3 questions. So question 1 said, based on the table in the map, which choice best describes the population trends of Eastern Europe? Answer A said most European countries experienced a population decline in 2015 but had a positive net migration in 2016. This is not the best answer. While the countries listed in the table do show a population decline in 2015, the same countries are shown to have a negative, not positive, net migration on the map. So if you're not sure of what net migration was, that could have tripped you up, but it did tell you on the bottom of the source what net migration was. So it's, or what, yeah, net migration is. So it's how many migrants you have moving in minus how many migrants you have moving out. So basically, if they have a negative net migration, so it's saying the countries are shown to have a negative, not positive net migration. That means more people are moving out than are moving in. So it's still contributing to the population decline. Question B was not the best answer either. While it's projected that many countries in Eastern Europe will continue to experience population decline, the rate of population decline is less than 1 million people each decade. So the question had asked, or the answer had said that it was over 1 million, so it's not. Question C is also not the best answer. It said the Eastern European countries that experienced population in decline in 2015 are projected to experience population growth by 2025. Nope, these sources show that they're going to continue to decline. So while all of the Eastern European countries listed in the table experienced a population decline in 2015, that was correct. Those same countries are still projected to experience further population decline, not growth, by 2025. So if you picked answer D, great job. That's the best answer. The Eastern European countries listed in the table are all projected to experience continued population decline and are also shown to have negative net migration rate on the map. So their population is going to go down and more people are moving out than moving in for these countries. We're going to move on to question 2. Question 2 asks, can the table in the map be used to create regions based on population trends? If you had said no, regions cannot be made on a smaller scale than Eastern Europe, I'm not sure what made you think that. What made you think that there were certain scales regions can be created on? This is not the best answer. While a region of that scale may not be used widely, regions can be created to organize space on local to global scales, meaning even if we are in just looking at Armwood High School, we can create regions. You've got well, some of you are e-learners, so it would be hard for you to tell. Let's say Sefner. You've got certain areas within Sefner that you can regionalize. Better neighborhoods, worse neighborhoods, places with higher crime or lower crime, places with the older population or a younger population, right? So this question is basically asking you, or this answer is basically asking you, like, do you think that regions have to be a certain size? They don't. B was also not the best answer. If you said B, you said no, regions cannot be determined without more information on the physical characteristics of Eastern Europe. Regions can be created to reflect the presence or absence of physical traits. Regions can also be created to highlight the presence or absence of human traits or characteristics such as population decline. So you can have regions that are based, what this is saying, you can have regions that are based basically only on human traits. We've seen several sources of that throughout this year. And you can also have regions that are created based on only physical traits, right? So for example, if you're talking about language, and we looked at the map that regionalized places based on where their origin for the word bear was, that's completely human traits. It's just language. And that whole map was based on human traits, right? If you look at a map, we've looked at ones with climate. Climate is a physical trait, and it's based only on that, right? So they can be either or a combination. C was the best answer, and C had said that yes, regions can be created within Eastern Europe to reflect current contexts and projections. So regions can be created to organize and contextualize current and projected trends. D had said, yes, regions can be created with Eastern Europe, but only if the geographers unanimously agree on boundary lines. We have learned in here that geographers do not have to agree. While geographers do debate and revise regions, unanimous agreement is not necessary for a region to be useful in organizing the physical or human characteristics of space, right? So some geographers have the right to include or exclude different information based on what they're creating that map for, right? They do not have to agree. Matter of fact, we've discussed several times in here that regions will vary, especially if they're perceptual, right? It's based on people's perception. So C was the best answer for number 2. All right. So question 3 said, based on the table in the map, the migrants leaving Moldova will most likely impact what? A had said economic development of the societies receiving these migrants, but not the economic development of Moldova. This isn't the best answer. So migration definitely does typically affect the economic development of the society that's receiving them. That means like which place they're going to. But it also does affect the economic development of the country that the migrants are leaving, for sure. If you have a ton of people, a mass exodus, leave your region, your country, your city, your state, that area is going to feel that loss. They're going to lose people in jobs that they need people in. They're going to have extra housing. They might have to close down schools, right? If you had said B, cultural development of these societies, receiving these migrants, and the cultural development of Moldova, that is the best answer. Migration is going to affect the cultural, economic, and political development of both the country that the people are leaving and the country that is receiving these people. Both places are going to feel the effects. That's spatial reorganization, right? If you had said C, it's not the best answer. I mean, it is not the best answer, and that's because Moldova will experience forms of spatial reorganization as a result of the Moldovans migrating to other countries, and the migrants also typically affect the spatial organization of the receiving societies. So kind of like we said with A, both the country that they're leaving and the country that they're going to are going to feel this effect. D had said political cohesion of all of Eastern Europe, meaning like all of Eastern Europe will have to work together politically. It's not the best answer. While migration can affect the political cohesion of a country, the map and chart don't provide enough data about how many Moldovans migrated to other European countries. It's possible that the political cohesion of all of the Eastern Europe was affected, but this choice is not as strongly supported. The reason that I want to go over this answer is because sometimes there is an answer to a question, especially in these AP style questions, where it sounds right, but just because it sounds like it could be right, if there is an answer that's more right, then that answer is still wrong, right? You have to pick the best answer. So if sometimes students will just read one and they're like, they get to the second answer and they're like, oh yeah, that's good. You have to read all of the answers and decide which one's the best answer. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to move forward to the next 2 questions on your worksheet. When I move to the next slide in the video, it has the sources you'll need. For these 2, you need to answer why you chose the answer that you chose and why it's the best answer. So kind of like we just explained and the ones we just went over, it explains like, okay, C is correct because, and you have to be able to tell me why you chose that answer. All right, so these are the sources for the second set of questions. There's only two more. So go ahead and pause the video while you answer those second questions. And again, you have to explain why you chose them in full, complete sentences, not because it's right. Like, no, why is it right? Like, explain it to me. If you can't do that, you're not going to get the credit. Pause the video so you can answer those two questions. All right, and that's it. You will upload, guys, listen, please, for the love of God, just the last page, just the second, like the back, if you have it printed out double-sided, or just the second page with the two questions that you had to explain why. I just need a picture of that. Now, if you're working in the document, right, like you're writing in the Word doc, then you don't have to separate it. Just upload the whole thing. But I'm just telling you, I'm only grading those last two questions. All right. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.